Hi everybody, good afternoon. The Clark School, I'm here. Thanks for the opportunity given to be here today. The Clark School was founded in 1970 by the founder director Ms. Leelavati and founder secretary Dr. S.K. Nagarajan. It had a humble beginning with a few hearing impaired students, and over the years with the service of experts in community development, education, skill development, and rehabilitation services, the institution has grown to empower children with various types of disabilities. It serves by offering education to children with hearing impairment, deaf, blind, and multiple disability, intellectual development disability, autism spectrum disorders, cerebral palsy, and focus is also given on pre-vocational and vocational training. The Clark School has a successful story to the dedication and determination of the founders, the able assistance of eminent personnel and diverse backgrounds who stood against all odds to develop the school to greater heights. The school admits students without any caste or creed bias. The admission to children is also given without any bias to the economic status of the parents. We reiterate that a person with disabilities must be treated on par with her able-bodied peers and must be allowed to enjoy every benefit. This is our mission statement. The school has been recognized by various national and government organizations as well as other institutions. We have ATG, FCRA, and CSR funds registered so that the donors can get benefited. We also have the hostel facilities, and the children are provided food and they have the comfortable stay there. We express our sincere gratitude for the generous support given to us. Your kindness will make a significant difference in their lives and make us provide the resources they need to thrive for a better and bright future. Our heartfelt thanks to everybody for us to be here. Special mention to Mr. Ravi Veeraraghavan, who extends great support to the school by having CSR activities with his team every year, and it's always a memorable and special day for the children. Thank you very much. Thanks all.
I invite Mr. M.V. Shyam Prasad, who's going to be the moderator for the panel discussion. Mr. M.V. Shyam Prasad is the founder and CEO of ProfaiDS Consulting. Shyam is passionate about providing high-quality consulting services to clients across various industries and brings to a very successful audit and consulting practice a hands-on experience of over 25 years in value engineering, market research, process, and forensic. He has pioneered value addition and process benchmarking as a core delivery in audits to position ProfaiDS Consulting as a favored choice for marquee clients in the Indian industry. His expertise lies in management audit, corporate governance, and legal research. Prior to founding ProfaiDS, Shyam worked as head of management audit practice at a leading firm of chartered accountants and as a legal research intern with a leading attorney at law. He is a Bachelor of Commerce from Loyola College and a Bachelor at Law from the Madras Law College. Shyam has also completed a postgraduate program in management at UCLA Anderson School of Management, Los Angeles, USA. He is an associate member of Institute of Internal Auditors, USA, and associate of Theory of Constraints, Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt Institution. He enjoys watching and playing cricket, aviation videos, and reading John Grisham. Balances VUCA management with Helen Keller's optimism. A bend in the road is not the end of the road. We welcome you, sir. We request Mr. M.B. Shyam Prasad to kindly lead the panelists onto the stage.
Good evening. We have three very distinguished guests, and in fact, between them, they could take care of technology, trust, and transformation, and also between them, they score a century of experience. So we have about three topics that they would cover. One is on the regulatory compliance and their, whatever the pressures that are associated with it, and AI disruption and workforce impact, and changing stakeholder expectations. So I'll With their permission, I'll take a very brief introduction to save on the time. Yeah. First, to start with Mr. Rajesh. He's Director, Security Consulting at Kyndryl, which is a spin-off from IBM. He has over 27 experience, and he is a DSCA certified strategist in security resilience and audit profession. Yeah, he has, currently Rajesh holds the position of Director of Security Consulting at Kyndryl, and I mean, that's what I repeated. The topic what he is going to cover is on the AI, and most of us talk about AI, and I think we have a lot of sessions on the AI, but do we really know what is the AI and how it can work, and probably as internal auditors, how we can make use of it? Beyond the sessions, Rajesh would perhaps bring the clarity of AI from about 40,000 feet to the ground level. I think he would help us do that. And next over to MPV, as he is fondly called. MP Vijaykumar is Executive Director and Group CFO, Sify Technologies. He has done many hats, one as a corporate leader. He is on the board of many private and public companies. And as an accounting professional, he heads the international committees in IFRS, and is also a Central Council member at Chartered Accountants of India. And as a teacher, I think he has taught many subjects, including accounting, financial reporting, and corporate law. I think we could see a lot of them coming over to him to take photos and all that. He has a lot of fan base. I think over the career, he must have created more than 10,000, 15,000 professionals. So while he deals the stakeholder expectations, all of us in internal auditors, we face the final step. Maybe the chief internal auditors goes to the board. Maybe some of us who are just at a rung, 1 or 2 rungs below, we may not know what actually happens in the board. Probably he would help us, tell us what is the board situation, and also how to manage the stakeholder expectations. Apart from knowledge and compliance, probably you need the tact to manage a very difficult stakeholder. Probably he would tell us how to play a mystery spinner like Varun Chakravarti. So Vijay would help us play that mystery spinner. And Charan, Sesharaman, he is a CFO at CAMS, Computer Age Management Services Limited. He is a chartered accountant with about 25 years of experience in finance functions, and previously was the head of an IT organization with operations in about 10 countries. So their company deals with IPO preparation, private equity funding, international taxation planning, and various strategic initiatives that he has been intimately involved. So regulation, as we talk about, we have over about 60 regulatory bodies in India and about thousands of provisions. Even if you take the A-class provisions, that will run into hundreds. So he would help us declutter for us, and as to what would be the most significant ones. And he would also talk about certain lesser known regulatory aspects. We may know something in the Google and things like that. From real perspective, what are the lesser known yet very significant ones that we do? I think something like a proxy advisors, there's a lot of money involved. Somebody may have to move from internal audit to fields like that. So he would help us do that. So the format is that each of would spend in their subjects few minutes. And I have listed about few questions relevant to the topics, which we will go through and they would answer. And we will also leave a good amount of time for the Q&A and interactions. Rajesh.
Introduction? You already covered. So I'm T.R. Rajesh, part of IBM Kyndryl for the past 28 years. Currently part of the security consulting team globally. That's enough.
So thank you, Rajesh, and pleased to meet all of you, and good evening to all of you. And Vishaka, happy to see you after so many years. So good to see you as well.
So this is Charan. I think introduction is over. So should I just start off with a few thoughts on the topic as such, and with your permission and the moderator's permission. So first thing is evolving stakeholders' expectations. Now, first we have to define who the stakeholder is, right? And there are two aspects to it. One is defining the stakeholders and then defining their expectations. Now, both are evolving, right? Earlier, you used to think about owners or shareholders and regulatory authorities to be the only stakeholders. Now, their expectations are changing, and you're getting more stakeholders, right? New stakeholders that did not exist probably 20 years back are now in the picture, right? Either directly or indirectly, they are influencing. And what I'm saying is probably slanted little towards a listed public company. Bear with me for that. But I'll tell you that the ecosystem is very complex, right? So earlier, profit metrics, you were happy, you reported profit metrics, you were okay, no questions asked, and then you can just go home. But now that's not the case, right? There are several other things that you need to keep in mind, a finance professional, specifically on sustainability, on integrated, and actually when I talk about integrated reporting with MPV next to me, and inspired by the logo of CSK behind me, it's like talking about helicopter shop with Dhoni next to you. So he's sort of a pioneer in that. So pardon me, sir, right? You get into integrated reporting, BRSR. I don't know how many of you are up to speed with BRSR because it's going to become mandatory for the top 500 companies from next time. There are sustainability goals. There are 9 things which we have prescribed as you have to track to. I can get into details of all those things, but a ChatGPT will give you all those things. That is not important. What is more important is the perspective of that we see from the other side, right? We need help on all these things, right? We need people to help us on all these things. We need help, and there's a large amount of knowledge that is waiting to be taken in those stuff. For example, a small thing like environment. We talk about ESG. Everybody talks about ESG. Everybody talks about how ESG is the in thing, etc. But for you to get into the details of that and get into a proper disclosure requirements is a humongous task. Even a company like us, which does not get into polluting industries or is not a manufacturing industry, for you to even compute what your carbon footprint is a humongous task, right? Now, I don't think people have understood the complexity involved in all those things. I think we need help on all those things. I need people, professionals, to come up to that and say, I know how to crack this for you. I know you're stuck in this. I will help you do all these things, right? So the extent of the stakeholders' expectation is changing a lot. Now it's ESG, sustainability. Are you in line with ethical practices? It's not only profits. And then there is the extra pressures you get from other stakeholders, right? Which is, for example, there is this new entity called a proxy advisors, right? And I don't know, and nothing will prepare this for you pre-listing, okay? Let me tell you, people will give you a lot of lectures, but nothing will prepare it for the actual work post-listing, which is that there is a set of standards that are available on governance, which is not prescribed by law, which is above the law. Nobody knows how it was prescribed by the proxy agencies, but it is what it is, right? Now, for you to get through one resolution, especially in companies like us who don't have an anchor promoter, right? We are dependent on foreign institutional voting. It's kind of a different task by itself. You have to understand the expectations of the proxy firms before you do anything. A small thing like an ESOP plan to go through or a director appointment to go through is not a done thing at all. I read the day before yesterday that a very, very respected group in South India, their MD chairman appointment is being opposed by the proxy firms because of some reason, right? So I think the new stakeholders emerging is something that all of us need to be totally aware of. And that's something that is not gaining a lot of prominence among the finance professionals. So I think that is something that is very important. I'll just end by saying a couple of things, which is that all these things seem very nice, futuristic, but why we come to internal auditors is for 2 things. One, you have to know what is happening in the business. You have to get business context. You have to understand our commercial models. You have to understand the ecosystem in which we operate, the competitive landscape, what is the pulls and pressures of the business. If not, your inputs is incomplete. Second thing is, we come to you for risk management. So while you focus on all the other areas, please don't lose sight of the core. The core is we come to you for risk management. Whenever a new process is in place or a new system is implemented, the first thing I do is to go and ask my internal auditor to have a look and say whether risk is okay or not okay, right? So while other things are great, new areas are great, please do BRSR, please do ESG, please do understand what the ecosystem is. Don't lose sight of the core, which is you have to help us in risk management, right? If you give up that core, then you vacate the space for others to come to. So be careful on that. Get to ancillary, don't miss your core. That is basically what I thought I should tell you.
Yeah, Rajesh, you can go ahead.
Okay. Basically, I'm going to talk about how this artificial intelligence is going to be used as an audit tool. And since yesterday, you have been hearing about what is artificial intelligence, what is machine learning, what is deep learning. Then the last one comes into generative AI and the data science. But do you know that before I get into an auditor's point of view, thus we know that what are we going to audit on AI? Now, everyone knows that when somebody talk about an AI, everyone knows that AI is a transformative tool or system which mimics the human capabilities such as analysis and doing some of them, correct? That's why the AI comes into picture. But first you need to visualize the whole spectrum. AI comes on the top, then ML, which is part of the AL, then coming back to your deep learning, then finally you are going to talk about generative AI. What is generative AI? Basically it's going to create new and the new contents for you, and it's a novel content which we can create using generative AI. That is the spectrum. But then as an auditor, I'm not talking about financial side. I'm only talking about an IT side. When you talk about an IT auditing or what you need to look at from the AI auditing, the normal principle of auditing does not change. But then you need to know how the whole architecture is built on the AI. Using the AI, how the overall spectrum is built. Let me give you an example through one of the tools which we developed. I'm not talking about the tools name also. When we looked at it, first we need to look at what is the outcome which I am expected. And that was our first thing which we look at. Then, in order to build that, you need to have a good steering committee, governance team. Unless you build a good governance on AI, that's going to fail. That means that's one of your auditing expectation, that do you have a good governance built on the AI system, which has unbiased transparency and all the other the jargon which you are saying. Then once you know that this is your end in mind, then you are going to use the tools, the infrastructure. Then when I talk about infrastructure, then you need to know where am I going to build it. Everyone talk about cloud, correct? Then everyone knows about, I don't know, because it's internal auditors or external auditors, many of us doesn't know the real IT components involved into that. Then you need to know the IT side of that, a cloud, and that's one of the way we moved to generating all the inputs at a faster space. Then everyone should know what is a cloud and what is a private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. Now I'm only talking about hybrid, it's a combination. Multi-cloud, we have three biggies today, AWS, Azure, Google, and all these players come into place. That is where you are going to utilize your AI engine built on this to create your overall outcome. Then that's not enough. Then you need to know what are the other technologies which you are talking about, encryption or blockchain. Then you need to look at the other things. How the 5G, everyone talking about, what is 5G? Then how the network and edge coming into picture. What are the latest technologies, tools going to be used? Like everyone knows about, I'm not explaining much, EDR, XDR, and MDR. Now don't worry, these are the jargons which you are going to hear when you go for an IT auditing. How the overall monitoring happens using these tools. That means if you are going to audit an IT, first as an auditor you need to learn the technology, first how the architecture built on that, how the network components are built on that. That is the way you need to look at a system for an auditing. You need to look at the operating system, you need to look at the subsystem middleware, you need to look at the databases, you need to look at which databases connected where, and all the upstream, downstream which you need to look at it. Then you need to look at the application, how the access control is built in. Everyone talk about zero trust. And what is zero trust? I don't trust anyone, correct? Then that means how those zero trust components are embedded, plus and something more to come into the field is micro-segmentation. What is that? When you go to a hotel today, generally you get an access to go to any of the floor, correct? But when you use micro-segmentation, you are going to get an access to one floor and within that your room, correct? That is the way we talk about micro-segmentation, segmenting your area. then you need to understand what is the external facing devices, what is internal facing devices, what is DMC, demilitarized zone. Once you understand these one, then it's easy for you to look at AI into an auditor perspective. Okay, now what tool to use it, when the question came, I only say that what not to use it. Because the trust and transparency, it's very key, and the security and ensuring the privacy, it's everyone's responsibility. Currently what is felt that it's only the responsibility of the security team or privacy team. But you know that at the end of the day, human risk is the biggest factor in enabling or disabling the AI engine. That is a way. Don't use ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the such tools available, which is easy to use it. But by using that, you are putting your organization input to somebody's mouth, and they can ingest and they can use it for different purposes. I expect that most of the organizations, it's not affordable, and Microsoft 365 or Copilot, these are some of the tools which some of the people may use it. But if I look at what tools as an auditor to use it, if you look at all the biggies, all four, KPMG and EY or Deloitte, and all four has their own auditing tools available. In addition to that, you can look at Audit Board, MeetMy, TeamMeet, and analysis tool, the Galvanist. There are many tools available. At the end of the day, what is that? It's correlate every documentation and summarize and give it to you what to audit, where is the risk lying. That is a way I recommend you saying that what to audit, what are the components which you need to consider from a technology perspective. And I know that this is an 8-hour session, and put it into a 3 minutes topics for you. Thank you.
Hope we have come down from 40,000 to some 20,000 at least. Yes, Vijaykumar.
So thank you. I'll just make one observation, which most likely many of you will not agree, but I'll still make it for the sake of debating internally for all of you. The way I've seen in my corporate life, management, boards of organizations, most have a tendency of working towards meeting stakeholders' expectations. There are stakeholders, be it investors, be it lenders, customers, different partners. So they try to understand, they try to get a view of what their expectations are. And the organizations try to push themselves to meet those expectations. My own experience and what I believe is appropriate is, as an organization, as a board, as a management, it's very important for us to have conviction on the purpose of our existence, what we are set out to do, and if it requires, I reiterate, if it requires, that the expectations of these stakeholders are to be moderated. It is extremely important for the management, for the board, and persons concerned to engage with the stakeholders and moderate those expectations, refine the expectations, if necessary, make them change their expectations as well. Else what will happen is the organization will develop as a fake organization. You do something, you try to position yourself something, and that risk is a very big risk, because you can fake only so much. Beyond the point, you cannot fake. And if the DNA of the organization is built around that, it is bound to collapse at some point of time. So my 2 cents for you to think over is, stakeholders are extremely important for organization. It's extremely important for us to understand what their expectations are, but more important for us to understand and have the conviction of the purpose of our existence. And if the purpose of our existence, the stakeholders' expectation, there's a mismatch, you need to take the strategies of engaging, moderating, refining. And if some stakeholder is not suiting your match, probably you need to swap it. I'll give a small example. There could be a business model which is a long-term business model, a short-term private equity fund which has a life of 5 to 7 years. If that is the stakeholder environment with whom you have to interact, that will never going to fit with you. It's never going to fit for you. So it's for you to see that, okay, this is a particular category of stakeholder is not going to suit for me. I need to give up, find the right kind of stakeholders. So as management, as board, that responsibility is an equally important responsibility. I leave that for all of you to think, because generally I come across people sweating it out to meet others' expectations. It's like trying to live every day just to please somebody by developing a bit of fakeness. It's important to be very real about who you are, what you are doing, if you believe you're doing what you're doing is the right thing.
Yeah, maybe we can take a few questions. Charan. Yeah, on the Charan, to you, the ESG, everyone we have been talking about, and what we'd like to see is what is the impact of ESG on the share price of a company on listing and also on the value, long-term value creation.
I wish I knew. My share price is down 25% in the last 3-4 months. So I'll just split it into two, okay? The domestic scenario and what is outside of India. I think domestic scenario, my recollection is focused ESG funds, and I'll come to the philosophical part of it later. I'm just saying the reality now. Focused ESG funds have probably not picked up as probably people expected. I think we have the mutual fund, for example, my ecosystem is around 65-66 trillion INR. I don't think the total ESG focused funds are much more than 10-20,000 crores, right? Probably SBI has something and Mira has something, but overseas it's huge, and unless, and I Googled this once, I'm sorry, but I don't know, unless some ChatGPT is hallucinating, the number is 41 trillion, right, dollars. Now, keep the number aside, so it is huge outside. But historically, there have been several studies done in other geographies which shows that, and for logical reasons, that if you are focused on ESG, and again, to take MPV's point, not to force fit it, but if you are focused on ESG as a linear way which you do business, there is a big improvement in your performance as well as your share price. Now, there was something in China which said it was 10%, something in UK that said it was 2%, but the trend is that it is going to benefit you as a company. The reasons are very clear. Reasons are that if you kind of go to that approach, you have the stakeholder interest in mind, which means your business is less risky, you are more prone to, you're less prone to kind of business risk and, disruptions that might happen in your model. Your reputation is much higher, right? You are more transparent by virtue of following the norms that are there. You are more transparent, you are more inclusive, right? If you are actually in spirit following the ESG norms. So it is bound to have a positive impact on your share price. If you ask me empirical evidence of something happening in India or the roadshows that we do, people come and ask you, there is a little more distance to go from an Indian perspective, but we will get there very soon. We will get there very soon.
Coming to the, since most of us are internal auditors here, on the regulatory compliances relating to your topic of mutual funds and the regulatory compliance, what should the internal auditors do to move up, like the proxy advisors that you made, where you could advise the institutional investors?
So, first thing is I have tremendous respect for the contribution that these guys make to us, right? They are the unsung heroes in many respects, because if you have regular interaction with them, the insights that they give you on potential risks is huge in informal discussions, right? Yeah, obviously we wanted to be a little informal. But I also have some areas where they could kind of get into which they are hesitating to, right? We as a company have actually designated 4 audit rooms, okay? Because that is the amount of audits that we do. The only challenge I have is to getting people to do that audit, right? Because they are they don't want to get into new areas. For example, cyber security. We don't have a lot of people who are venturing into it other than the big firms. It's a huge area, right? Now people don't understand the import of data privacy. DPDP Act rules are said to be notified any day today, right? Any day today, it's in fact due. That is going to change the way in which every data is being exchanged in this country, right? And people are focusing on only one aspect, which is the social media, but that's not true. It's going to impact every business. It requires a lot of assurances. It requires a lot of checking. It requires a lot of process changes. It requires a lot of validation assurances. I wish the internal auditors as a profession embrace such new regulations, which is going to add a lot of value not only to them, but to the corporates in which they are involved or to which they are involved. Just to give you an example, things that we take for granted now is not going to be kosher once the DPDP Act comes, right? You cannot share information the way that you want. You have to go through a protocol. You have to go through a consent manager. You have to get proper audit trail for everything that you do. So I think these are the kind of areas that I think it's a right time for people to start getting involved in, so that they become a full service kind of a provider. Now, I don't think that limiting it to financial audit is doing justice to them, not to the company, right? That is my view.
So nice, thank you. Vijay, please do that.
Now, this is where I wanted all of you to focus on that. Current problem for us, we know what is our financial audit, we know what is an IT standard auditing, but we don't know what is coming into the global after that. Then the data privacy, when you go to the board, the first thing they talk about, secure my system, secure my information and data. That's only two statements which we have, correct? But when it comes to that, I wanted all of you to look at some of the privacy courses or some of the artificial intelligence, the base courses, plus some of the cloud related, the base understanding. And unless you do something on the latest technology, and we are going to say that, is it an auditor worthwhile to do an audit? Or is it just asking or probing? Or is it really he helping the organization to identify the problem and give a recommendation? That is where, once an auditor comes into that level, and internal audit will change the way we are doing from manual to sophisticated, the tools usage. And that is what the future, plus we need to move away from the standard compliance auditor to a strategic advisor roles. And in order to do that, every person has to learn it every day on the latest technologies, on the latest threads coming on the way. Now, I just wanted to add on that.
Thank you. MP, a few questions to you. What could be the top 3 expectations of a board beyond financial performance?
3 expectations, okay. The first is in almost all the boards, I'll just pick up 3 common things which I see everywhere. First is extent of investment to be done around digitalization of various aspects of business, whether it is customer engagement or whether it's internal employee engagement or business process. That's one conversation which I find it extremely common. And for most organizations, there is this willingness to invest in that, but they're all handicapped by the right kind of guidance and the risk of obsolescence and project execution. I think that's something which I come across very common. And around that, IT security. IT security is a very big concern for the organizations. The second conversation which keeps coming is around sustainability, more particularly around the impact of climate change and environment 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. I'll give a very simple example. Even if I were to take a traditional manufacturing company, with all this climate change which is happening, come this summer, the ability of workmen to work, let's say from 9 to 5, particularly the afternoon 11 to 4. If you go back 20 years back, it was never a conversation point. People used to work. People used to come by 8, 9 to a factory. Gayatri was there in Breaks India. By 8, people are in the factory. They used to work till 5. But today, I think the temperature changes which are there, they're all real problems. They're all very, very real problems which are there. So this climate change, and if you look at some of the business models, let's say holiday resorts who have built good resorts in many hill stations. Those hill stations today, at least if I take the Tamil Nadu 3 hill stations, even winter is like summer today. In fact, that's the experience. Last November I was there, I didn't feel any temperature difference at all going from Chennai. So just look at the impact for those people who are doing those business. So I'm like this for every business. There is a huge impact because of climate change. Different kinds of impact is there. Like for example, products, logistics during the summer period, during the rainy season, how much storage can be done. Because earlier you could maintain storage at, let's say, for 40 degrees temperature. Now it's going beyond 40. So the storage requirements, the freshness of the product. So many things are changing. The business model is getting substantially impacted because of sustainability. Some organizations are foreseeing it and taken steps. Some of them are still a little ignorant, and I think they run the risk of seeing the Nokia moment. The third important challenge which all of us see, and it's true for most of the youngsters which I see here, for whom it's an opportunity, and for most of us who are in our 50s, I think we should look at what we should do next in a very polished manner. If you look at...
Fire.
Yeah, so fire ourselves or somebody fires us out, but that's a reality. I'll just give a very simple example. All of us have witnessed the internet era, and it's so very distinctly shown us, those who are pre-internet and post-internet, those who grew up in the internet era, and some of us who are pre-internet era, we struggled to adapt. There are very few people who could adapt, get the best out of it, and survive. And now it's like pre-AI era and post-AI era. So there are the 2000s kids whose ability to understand, appreciate, and live in that ecosystem. And more importantly, the kids who are born now, they're actually getting born in the AI era. So when they're born and developing in the AI era, 10 years from now, it's so likely that we will all become irrelevant. Take a simple example of parents at home. They've been very comfortable with banking, writing check, going, depositing, collecting, drawing and all. Come the internet era, online banking, parents have struggled. They've struggled to live their 70s, 80s, their ability to use the online system, security risks which are increasing. And even to UPA era, there are many people, parents who are age 70 and all, who are struggling to adapt to that. And just imagine all of us in the post-AI era will struggle substantially. So in the context of organizations, companies, the ability to build talent, people, culture, where we all live in that AI era is a huge challenge. And unfortunately, that responsibility is with people who know less of AI except bookish knowledge. And we are trying to build a team who has lived that AI era. And that's going to be a very big challenge. So in the boards I'm coming across, we are still deliberating as to what kind of recruitments we do, how do we retain them, how do we build the talent so that they can survive the AI era. So these are the three major conversations which are happening in the boards.
Thank you. One other question, maybe just following the, ESG is one topic and it's a beautiful topic and we all love it, but it has got a cost. It comes with a cost and a complexity, particularly for India, where we are a country of foundries, where back-end operations, which is literally dirty out there, sweatshops, things like that. How do you balance between compliance cost of an ESG and pressure on the P&L?
Okay, first and foremost, ESG is not a cost, it's at best an investment. It's an investment, okay. So it's not a cost and expense in P&L, that's fundamental. Second, we also
I've known that you are an accountant.
So the second important thing is, as an accountant I have to expense it off, so it's a feel later. But so somebody should not tell that this man told it's an asset so I can capitalize, and that's not possible. I think it's the way to see it, okay. So today in e-commerce business, loss is an asset, so it's like that. Okay, so lighter things apart, coming back here. See, there's one important global trend we should acknowledge is, I think ESG is more or less abandoned as a marketing one. It was marketed very heavily. But I think, at least when I interact with international investors, this word ESG is no longer very fancy one. I think for them the focus is all around sustainability and around impact of climate on businesses. So ESG, my interactions, my experience, it's almost deathbed, particularly after the recent US elections and all. I'm not naming, but I'm sure all of you can connect with what's happening. Now on ESG, there are three things, Shyam. I'll just come in the reverse order. Governance. I think as far as governance is concerned, it is the social fabric of the society, the value systems at which you grew at home, the schooling, the society in which you live, that defines the governance. And there's a legal framework, and that's a minimum legal framework you have to follow for sustaining. And my experience is, any organization which is well governed survives very long. Take the groups like the TVS group, Murugappa group, Tatas. So any group which has had, irrespective of law, good governance practices, they survive for ages, and automatically the returns come in. So I think the IRR on governance, good governance, is very well known. I don't think we have to explain beyond. And on social, any business model which connects with a social need, which meets a social requirement, which is conscious of the impact it makes on the society, harmful, positive, and apart from that, employees, other stakeholders, etc., those businesses will survive. And those are, there are classic examples of organizations who have reinvented themselves. Classic example is ITC. ITC, they knew harmfulness of smoking. They decided to gradually exit and build the other businesses. Today, their other businesses are so valuable, they have adopted that path. And I'll just give an example very close to home on social aspect of the business. Any business model which connects with a social need. Take a company like Sundaram Finance, because that's an organization I've grown up with. And today I believe what I am is because of my first days in that organization, which shaped who I am today. The truck financing which is done, the truck finance, which is the business model of that organization, is for the persons who have been working as drivers, who wants to own the first vehicle. So you finance the truck, and you are with that person for 3, 4, 5 years, and you are making a difference to that particular person's life, still settling down in life. Then he buys the second truck, then he buys the third truck. And in Sundaram Finance, I've seen that there has never been a default, because you have actually met that social need of that particular person. And in Sundaram Finance, every time the rate of interest was higher than the other peer group lenders. But every borrower preferred to borrow from Sundaram Finance because you met his need at that point in time, and there a beautiful ecosystem of connecting with those needful. So the financing was always that. And I remember those days, I don't know today what it is. There are many who used to say that, why don't we finance consumer durables, etc. and all. And I was a company secretary then, and I recall those, they said, no, those financing will spoil the society. It will push people towards a credit culture. They will borrow beyond their needs, etc. Will stick only to meeting a social requirement. And that's why that organization lives in the heart for many of us. And that organization is what it is today and will continue to be so because of that social part. Like that's the social part of it. There are many who tend to confuse social with other social activities. That's not so. It's a business need part of it. Even in LIC, the business which you do, the small insurance policies which you do for 50,000 rupee, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, those are all loss-making products. But that's a social need you have to address. If you want to do only 10 lakh products, 50 lakh products, meet urban requirements, you can do that. Then you are like a private insurer, commercial. But if you want to be relevant to the society, you need to get there. That's the important part. Now the environment part, I addressed it earlier in the previous question. I think that's an important part. One is There are good laws in the country, whether it is pollution or other environmental things. If we can follow the spirit of it, I think we would have done our bit of contribution to the environment. And if we can go beyond that in terms of building our business model, this particular business which I'm doing is emitting more than what it should do, is consuming more water than what it should do. So if businesses are responsible towards that, I'm not expecting them to overnight shut down and go, but like ITC did it, if businesses can understand the impact they are making on the environment and gradually change. It might take 10 years, it may take 15 years, doesn't matter. There's no hurriedness to do it in next 2-3 years. Let's understand global economies who are developed economies have so much consumed the environment to reach there. And to improve this is a personal view, to improve the per capita income of the society and social status of society, if we have to use the environment to some extent, use it. But let's develop models where over a period of time, the impact we create on the environment is less as we go along. So that's on the ESG. So these are my thoughts on how ESG needs to be approached.
Thank you so much. Once we did some work for ITC on regulatory, their score was 103 on 100. Yeah. Now, next to Rajesh and the AI. AI as such actually predicts a lot. I think Rajesh would have predicted what question would come to him. We'd like to see as internal auditors, where do you see and what shape we'll be in 3 to 5 years from now?
Correct. AI is going to be a game changer for internal or external audit. And at the end of the day, we need to look at why AI. Basically, it ensures the accuracy, and that's one of the one. And it ensures the efficiency, and it allows us to understand the risk and the overall risk management. By doing that, you are going to see lots of system, self-learning system, deep learning models, and the integration with regulations. These are some of them which you are going to see, and also you are going to see the tools are created for more observability as well as visibility, and that is the way you, if I go to SSO, he wants to know what is my risk spectrum, and if you can demonstrate that correlating between multiple tools, that is what it's going to be, and that is where as an auditor, you need to look at how this correlation happens, how the integration happens, how the data is modeled for the benefit of organization. By looking at the time, I limit with that.
Lovely, thank you. And I think we have about 5 minutes and we can open the thing for some Q&A. Anyone would like to have some questions? Maybe I think you all would have...
For Vishaka, actually.
I think you would all learn from MPV probably this time to question him.
Then if there is no question, let me give you, ensure that the organization is going to create predictive analysis, and how that unbiased predictive analysis becoming part of the overall journey, and please look at as part of your auditing.
While we had an auditee perspective in the previous session, our delegates have had an opportunity to delve into stakeholder expectations in this panel discussion through 3 different perspectives: sustainability, risk, IT and AI governance, and what it takes to maintain the genuinity and core DNA of the organization. Thanks a lot, sirs. Thank you for your profound words. Request Mr. Manian, past President IIA Madras and Group Head Audit and Risk Apollo Hospitals, to present Mr. Charan Sesharaman, CFO CAMS, with a memento as a token of our appreciation. Request Ms. Gayatri, Board of Governor IIA Madras, to present Mr. T.R. Rajesh, Director Kyndryl, with a memento as a token of our appreciation. Request Mr. Krishna Chaitanya, Partner EY and Board of Governor IIA Madras, to present Mr. MP Vijaykumar, Executive Director and Group CFO, Sify Technologies, with a memento as a token of our appreciation.